Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships, where today we're going to be talking about the brand new Dockyard here in update 13.7. It's going to be a Tier 9 Spanish cruiser. But of course, the previous Dockyard we just had was the Wisconsin, the Tier 10 American battleship, and this battleship is absolutely cracked. Most cracked Dockyard ship I think Wargaming has released yet. So can we have as high expectations for the next Dockyard ship or not? Well, we're going to have to just wait and see. But we're going to go ahead and dive into the Dockyard. So this video, I'm going to be giving you, we'll go over the event rules, starter packs. We'll check out the rewards. If you're new to the game, is it possible for you to pick up this ship? Is this ship worth going for? We'll talk about some combat missions, advice, tips, and tricks. And I'll give some closing comments there as well. So art department, killing it with featuring and showcasing these things, so it's always fun to kind of just see what's going on here. You can already see I've already gone through the first two phases. I got them on the first day because the first phase of the Dockyard combat missions section is the easiest during the first week. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this ship and the event rules. I'm going to try to pronounce the name of this ship, but don't be surprised if I completely butcher it in typical flimsy fashion. The Almirante Oquendo. I don't know. Trying to throw a little Spanish little accent in there. I don't know. But let's go ahead and just talk about the event rules. This Dockyard event takes you through the phases of building a ship and rewards you with the Tier 9 Spanish cruiser upon completing those phases. The shipbuilding phase completion comprises of 20 phases. You can progress through shipbuilding phases by completing Dockyard combat missions or spending doubloons. You can also obtain the ship only upon completing any 2 phases or more by spending doubloons. If you continue to complete Dockyard combat missions after you built the Almirante Oquendo, you receive 250 steel instead of each additional phase. Starter packs. Purchase starter packs at a discount to obtain rewards and complete the shipbuilding phases required to build the ship. You'll not be able to purchase the starter packs after completing the first 4 shipbuilding phases. So once you've completed 4 shipbuilding phases, right now I've only done 2, but after 4, then you will not be able to purchase those starter packs anymore, and there's 2 starter packs, which we'll look at here in just a minute. And then the well-deserved rewards. You'll be able to obtain a reward for each shipbuilding phase by progressing through the shipbuilding phases. You also obtain special rewards, 10,000 coal at phase 8 and Leipzig at phase 11. Now, something really important to note about this Dockyard, that you can get this ship completely free depending on one criteria. So if I hover over the Almirante Oquendo, you can build the ship only upon completing any 2 phases or more by spending doubloons or receiving compensation for Leipzig. So when you're going through here, once you reach the 11th phase, if you already have Leipzig, you will receive 2 shipbuilding tokens as compensation and automatically complete the corresponding number of shipbuilding phases. So if you have Leipzig, you're going to get this ship completely for free because as compensation, they're going to give you 2 shipbuilding phases, right? And don't worry if you I say don't worry, but if you have already purchased the starter pack for the 2 phases and you have Leipzig, it's like, well, you're just going to get some additional steel. You'll get 500 steel for those 2 additional phases. So I don't have this ship. I'm pretty sure I don't. I should probably, let's check. You guys can check with me. I can look at this real quick. Tier 6 German. Yeah, no, I don't have it. So then I would need to definitely purchase a starter pack if I'm desiring and picking up this ship. So let's go ahead and look at the starter packs. Allow the completion of shipbuilding phases in exchange for doubloons. Your last chance to purchase details. So you see 3 spread out here, but there's specifically 2. So these are only available again at the start of the shipbuilding process. After you've completed 4 shipbuilding phases, you will not be able to purchase either of these 2 starter pack bundles, if you will. The one that you need the most would be the smooth sailing if you don't already have the Leipzig, the Tier 6 German cruiser, as we just discussed. This is the minimum number of shipbuilding phases required to obtain the tier 9 Spanish cruiser, in addition to the phases that need to be completed by progressing through Dockyard combat missions. Purchasing the starter pack allows you to obtain the rewards for all phases you complete. Now, I don't remember the dollar value off the top of my head of how much does 3,000 doubloons cost, so I'll just put it at the bottom of the screen here if I remember to. But I'm thinking it's like $15 roughly or something. I could be wrong, but we'll have the comment at the bottom of the screen here. So 3,000 doubloons. The full ahead, which gives you 7 shipbuilding phases, a large number of shipbuilding phases at a discount. Purchasing them reduces the number of Dockyard combat missions you need to complete and allows you to obtain the Almirante Oquendo faster. Purchasing the starter pack allows you to obtain the rewards for all phases you complete. So if you don't really want to deal with going through obtaining or going through all the combat missions, then of course, yeah, you can throw money at the game and you'll pick up the ship faster. If you don't want to worry about doing the more challenging combat missions and obtaining the Dockyard tokens, shipbuilding phases, right? But at the same time, this is a way that players who don't mind throwing money at the game, if you want to buy steel. So yes, you can't buy steel outright directly in World of Warships. I think that's typically always been the standard, but you can here in the game buy steel outright. And the best way to do that would be basically buying both of these shipbuilding phases, bundles, and then continue to complete the Dockyard combat missions. So then, you know, you would be like, let's say you don't have Leipzig, right? Then you would get 7 times 250. And I think I can say that right off the top of my head. You know, that would be like, I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong. You'd get 1,750 still, right? If you already have Leipzig, well, then you're going to get 2,250 still. 2,250, yeah. So you can then take that towards a steel ship in the game, right? Because after the 4th shipbuilding phase, once you completed, these 2 will no longer be available, and then the only way to purchase the shipbuilding phase will be through purchasing this, and it's 2,000 doubloons. So you can see that, you know, 1 phase 2,000 doubloons, or here 2 phases for 3,000 doubloons. So you are saving money rather than spending 4,000 doubloons. It only costs you 3,000 doubloons now. So the goal is to try to get you to buy these earlier, right? Wargaming doesn't want to make it easier for you and extending out the timeline, right? So after this quote-unquote second week of going through the Dockyard combat missions, and if you can complete them all, you know, you can't buy these anymore. So typically, if you're wanting to go for the Dockyard ship, and you don't have, in this case, the Leipzig, then you'll need to, I would encourage you to buy this one now, and starting off, just to make your life easier. So let's go ahead and go through the checking out the rewards here. So you can see I've already picked up 1,000,000 credits. I picked up 7 days of premium. We have combat signals. Here's 500 steel, right? So you'll earn steel going through these the Dockyard as well. Even if you don't spend any money on the Dockyard, right? I can still go ahead and earn steel because this is just the 4th phase. So then you kind of look at this as a whole. If you were to go through the entirety of the Dockyard and you buy all those starter bundles, right, then you can really stack up your steel earnings quite quickly here in the game. Another 1,000,000 credits. The Spanish cruisers commemorative flag. We get some bundles of XP or economic bonuses. Then we get 10,000 coal, always welcome. And so we were looking at 500 steel earlier. Here's another 500, so there's 1,000 steel, right? Another 7 days of premium, so 14 days of premium, and then you get a tier 6 German cruiser if you don't already have it in the game. My understanding is that the ship is basically a Nuremberg, although the ship is slightly different, and I don't remember exactly what 1 or 2 ways it is different than the Nuremberg, the tier 6 tech tree German cruiser. Here's another 10,000 coal, so now we're up to 20,000 coal, right? So it's really good earnings for in-game resources. Here is some of the, I think what are these called, the rare economic or expendable bonuses. Here's another steel, so now we're up to 1,500 steel. Some free XP, Elite Commander XP. Then I think these are called the unique expendable bonuses, but I could be wrong. and then another 10,000 coal. So now we're up to 30,000 coal, and then another 500 steel. So what does that make us have? 2,000 steel now, right? Yeah, 2,000. No, 3,000. 2,000 steel, right? Because it's in 4 places. 500 for each. And then you land on the Almirante Oquendo. Now, if you've played previous, you've tried to work on some previous dockyards, right? And you're like, well, there's been some that have been over 20 phases. I think we've even had some up to like 32 phases or something. Those are typically, they put more phases in the game if it's like a tier 10 ship. And in this case, it's just a tier 9 ship. That's typically how Wargaming has gone about things. Now, having said this, if you're new to the game, is it possible for you to go for this dockyard ship? Well, I can probably help you answer that question. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to look at the combat missions under Dockyard. So basically what you need ultimately, my opinion is, actually I'm going back out to port, is that it would be ideal if you have at least a tier 8 destroyer, tier 8 cruiser, tier 8 battleships. Like let's just say I only pick on, let's just say I pick on the British ships here. It's ideal that you at least have a tier 8 destroyer, cruiser, and battleship. Okay, that's, as I've kind of done these video series longer, that's been most ideal. I'm not saying you need an all-one nation, just do you have North Carolina? Do you have a tier 8 Kagero, the Japanese destroyer? Do you have a tier 8 Cleveland, right, light cruiser? Because of the combat mission requirements you're going to have to go through, because if you're brand new to the game, let's say you've only been playing 2-3 months, you only play a couple games, you know, a week, then I imagine it's going to be quite difficult for you, because when we get to the end of the dockyard, there's just going to be like really difficult things. It's much more difficult to do these at tier the low tiers, mid tiers, tier 5, because you have to at least have tier 5 ships or higher, tier 5 through tier 10, and then including super ships, to be able to complete these combat missions. So if you have just a tier 5, let's say Nicholas, the American destroyer, it's going to take you a long time to shoot down 85 aircraft in your Nicholas. And if you're also playing tier 5, let's say you don't even have premium account, and you don't have, let's say, maybe some economic bonuses, which of course you'll expendable bonuses, which you'll get from the dockyard in and of itself. But it might be really difficult for you to earn 9.2 million credits, where the tier 9 in the game premium ships are the best credit earners, right? Maybe you don't have a well, that's a combination of secondary battery hits and main battery hits for 3,500, so that could take a while. Or like here, earn 60,000 base XP, where you normally earn more base XP at tier 8 and higher than you do at tier 5. So it could take you much longer to progress in the game. And then here you see the ship class restrictions tied to that. So typically, in my experience, if you don't at least have some if you don't have a tier 8 cruiser, destroyer, and battleship, and then let's say, you know, have some premium ships in here as well. Like, so if I expanded up to, let's say, let's include, premium as well, in addition to tech tree, and then, I don't know, let's just go like that, and then tier 9, right? So like, you know, I've been playing the game for a while, so I have an Alaska. Can earn a lot of credits through this. I need to do a video with Illinois, where I earned 2.4 million credits in it, you know, because tier 9s are just your best, premiums are your best credit money makers. You know, I could throw in, you know, even tier 10 is not bad, right? So I like to play a lot of Salem. You know, this is a ship you can pick up for coal. Some of these ships I'm pointing out are not too difficult to obtain. Now, Illinois, yes, it's a research bureau ship, very difficult to obtain. But, you know, usually, I'm not saying it's impossible if you only have tier 5s to do this. It's just going to take you an obscenely long amount of time because of what the combat missions require you to do, particularly in the, you know, sections 5 through 7. Maybe you would even say 4 to an extent. So, So yeah, so that's the way I would answer the question. You know, is it possible for you if you're new to the game? Well, if you don't have tier 8s or maybe a tier 9 premium, at least across, you know, a destroyer, cruiser, and battleship, I would say it's going to be quite difficult for you, and you might consider sitting this one out. If we were sitting on the Wisconsin dockyard, I'd be like really encouraging you to go for Wisconsin. But with this ship, I'm not entirely sure, which brings us to the point and asking the question, is the I gotta find the is the Almirante Oquendo, is this ship worth going for? Now I think that's going to be particularly up to you. Normally I would have they have this screen, and I had already opened this that gives us an overview on the strengths of this ship. I mean, here we only get to see a brief summary in terms of survivability, artillery, airstrike, torpedoes, defense, maneuverability, and concealment. I think she has 12 2 and 3 millimeter guns. Maybe I can look off screen. Okay, so this ship is armed with 12 2 and 3 millimeter guns mounted on 4 turrets. Her high speed combined with the high firing accuracy and damage per minute of her main battery makes her a very difficult ambush predator, or very effective ambush predator in skirmishes with destroyers and other cruisers. She can strike and change position swiftly. Alternative fire mode, I figured she'd probably get that. Reduces shell dispersion by 20% at the cost of a longer reload time. Goodness gracious. All this comes at a price, as her vulnerable citadel makes it very hard to survive prolonged engagement with battleships. The ship is equipped with standard cruisers, consumables, defensive A-fire, and hydroacoustic search, sharing a slot, a choice between fighter or spotting aircraft, another slot, and repair party in a separate slot. Okay, at least she does have a repair party on the ship. So, is the ship worth going for? Again, that's probably going to come down to you as a player. Do you like playing high tier? Because this is a tier 9 cruiser. If you like playing more low tier or mid tier, then I'd be like, maybe you would just want to consider skipping this dockyard. If you really like playing cruisers at high tier, then I could see probably this ship. You know, it's ultimately, if you have the Leipzig, right, then yes, it's going to be very, it's free to go for this ship, right? So it's a very ideal ship to go for. Otherwise, you know, at the beginning here, it's going to cost you 3,000 doubloons. So it's going to cost you, so if you don't already have 3,000 doubloons in the game, which I don't as an example, so that's why I can even purchase this. I need 2,476 more doubloons. Then it might cost you, you know, roughly, I don't know, $15-ish or something, whatever I said it was earlier at the bottom. So is it worth spending $15 and picking up a tier 9 premium ship? Now, generally, I would say kind of just yes. When you think about the WoW's anniversary events, so if you're a new player, World of Warships does the anniversary events, and depending on your tier of ship that you have, tier 5 through super ship, you get rewards just for having more ships in the game, and you get specific rewards for the higher the tier, the more reward, right? This is also another tier 9 ship that later on you don't have to worry about buying. Now, as far as I remember, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I don't think they've released dockyard ships outright for sale. And I have even some of the older dockyard ships. I mean, they brought Puerto Rico back for a second dockyard because they kind of were getting really messed up the first dockyard they did in the game, and a lot of players were outraged. So you want to be able to get a ship, you're a collector, and like, yo, this ship is probably not going to become available for another 2-3 years, then again, maybe it's worth the 3,000 doubloons to you. The other thing I'd say is that as the game is progressing with tier 10s and super ships, there's a lot of overmatch. We have a lot more 457 millimeter guns in the game. We have this, I think, is it 460? Yeah, 460s. We have 510 millimeter guns in the game. So if you don't like all the overmatch that's increasing at the higher tiers, then and you're not really see yourself playing the ship so much, then it's like maybe you skip it. But otherwise, you know, a 3,000 doubloons perhaps isn't a bad investment just to have it tucked away. Now, the other thing I would actually say regarding this ship is the salvage for victory. Is it salvage for victory? No, not salvage for victory. The trade-in events, where dockyard ships are considered a higher value than another standard tier 9 ship on its counterpart. At least it's been that way so far, if I remember correctly. And you could trade in this tier 9 if the ship only costs you $15, and get another, let's say another tier 8 premium ship that they're offering, or perhaps even another tier 9 premium ship, because they do have these ships have a higher value because they're only available through the Dockyard and very hard to get, right? If you don't get in a Dockyard so far, you're not been able to get the ship elsewhere. So you could trade in for maybe another ship that you really want. Now, I don't know, Wargaming changes each trade-in event and what ships you can trade in and which ones you can, well, not necessarily trade in, but which ones you can get in return for giving up a really good ship. Like Heisen is a Dockyard ship I have, and I keep thinking about giving it up. And I think it's worth 19,000 doubloon trade-in value, if I remember correctly. So that's another way to look at this if you want a bargaining chip to get a ship that maybe you actually really want in a future trade-in event. But I digress. Let's continue on here. So let's go ahead and go over the Dockyard combat missions, advice, tips, and tricks. I'm not going to go through every single section of the Dockyard. I mean, the first phase is the easiest, right? Win 3 battles, Dockyard token, complete the 6, right? And 6 combat missions here, then you get another shipbuilding phase. So let's just first talk about what is the completion criteria. The completion criteria is typically you have to have a tier 5 ship or higher. Now, of course, when it comes to specific ship classes, like aircraft carriers and submarines, there's no tier 5 submarines or aircraft carriers in the game. They start at tier 6. So then you see tier 6 and through tier 10 for submarines, because we don't have any super submarines yet, right? That's going to be a matter of time before that happens. But always pay attention to the completion criteria because it will change, right? So you see co-op battles, random battles, operations, ranked battles, and brawls. That's important to make a note of. These will change, right? So in one battle, get 4 destroyed. Well, I can do that easily in co-op, but you don't actually see co-op as being as part of that completion criteria here, or in operations or brawls, only randoms and ranked. The other thing we have to look at is previously in Dockyards, operations didn't count for your Dockyard, which was really infuriating. And then Wargaming is like, hey, we're gonna allow operations to contribute towards your Dockyard, but there is a screw you, where only half of your performance achieved in operations is taken into account. So let's say I get 50 ribbons in a submarine while playing operations, where only 25 of those ribbons will go towards my progress in filling out this 175 ribbons, right? So you have to be mindful of the completion criteria. This throws off a lot of new players in particular. I get comments, hey Flimsy, I've been playing the game and I'm not getting any progress for my first section or section 2 of the Dockyard. Can you tell me what's going on? And I've been playing been playing for 2 hours and nothing's counted, as I just went and checked. It's typically because maybe you're playing a tier 4 or under, or maybe you're working towards a combat mission that actually, the battle type doesn't count towards. Like you're playing, you're trying to get this one, and only randoms or rank counts towards it, or you're trying to go for the 900 ribbons, but you didn't catch that it's ship class specific. That's the other completion criteria, depending on some of these, where only cruisers, destroyers, battleships. And then we have some here in general. You can see it's not ship class specific. So my biggest advice to you if you're working on the Dockyard is always pay attention to the completion criteria, and then you can work on that. Now, naturally, there's some here in the game my advice also is try to blend some together, right? So I was in operations and I took Monarch, tier 8 British battleship, and with its high explosive, I can get a lot of incapacitations. And I also just, I think I already had the wins already, but, if we win the operation, they don't have you winning an operation. That would be really dumb. So here you can see that they don't have that little orange dot. So if I win an ops, that win counts. They don't go, oh, so you only get a half win, right? It would be really stupid if Wargaming did do that. And then I'm trying to shoot some aircraft down with my Monarch. And I also need to do 975,000 in damage in general in the game, and I need to get ribbons. So there's a lot of things, if you're mindful of, you can be working on multiple combat missions simultaneously. So do pay attention to that. But in general, let me go ahead and start talking about, hey, what's some general advice? Let's go ahead. I'll go to 3 and then I'll go to 7. So here, earn 35,000 XP. you can actually see here, I'm looking at the completion criteria. That's the first thing I'm checking. They're not having the progress of the XP I earn in operations. So maybe you're grinding a tier 6, tier 7, tier 8 ship. And I think Wargaming is talking soon about allowing tier 9 and tier 10s in specific operations soon. That's going to be tested on the public test server soon. But, you know, hey, I'm working on grinding the tier 7 French destroyer, and let's say I put a blue booster on, or I take it into randoms, then I can earn that 35,000 XP quite quickly. And maybe you're like, what do you mean, Flimsy, a blue booster? Well, I'm pretty low, severely low on economic bonuses, but I could take the unique expendable bonus 1600%. As long as I get the win, then I'm gonna get a crap ton of XP. So I'd be looking specifically at those. And combat missions again, we were looking in the third. So take a ship that maybe you're grinding and you have some of those XP bonuses, expendable bonuses on. Otherwise, I'd say something like for 800 secondary battery hits or main battery hits. Then I'm going to start looking at, if I think about secondary hits, again, I'm checking the completion criteria. It's not tied to a specific ship class. Then let's say I'm at tier 8. Maybe I'm taking my German battleship Zeiten or Bismarck into battle. Maybe I already have tier 10 Schlieffen, or I have the GK, or I have Preußen, and I can quickly get secondary hits from them. And I think, or maybe you have a previous tier 9 cruiser Michelangelo from the Dockyard, right? It spits fires, secondary battery fires really fast, right? So then I think, okay, which ships do I have that shoot secondaries really fast? And if I have Luchins as a commander, and once you get 100 secondary battery hits, then he has a faster reload time on his secondary batteries. So then I might be thinking Schlieffen, I might be thinking Prinz Ruprecht at tier 9, or maybe even Zeiten, or another brawling battleship. Maybe I'm thinking about Massachusetts, if you have a Massachusetts. Maybe I'm thinking about Georgia, if you have a Georgia. Maybe I'm thinking about Ohio, the Research Bureau Point battleship that I can do secondary spec on. So thinking of those ships that are very strong in the secondary hit battery category, that I know that are accurate secondary battery, but also that they have they actually fire quite quickly and rapidly. Otherwise, main battery hits, I might be thinking of something something that reloads fast, right? It's going to take me a long time with a battleship to fulfill 800 main battery hits if I'm talking about Vermont, right? Even though Vermont has 12 guns, the tier 10 American battleship, you know, her stock reload time is 40 seconds. But again, these have nice, these blend together really nicely. You know, if you're taking a Schlieffen, a ship that has strong secondaries, and I'm also firing her 8 420mm guns at the same time. Otherwise, I would be like, okay, what reloads fast? Well, cruisers and destroyers tend to reload really fastly. Maybe I have the tier 8 Japanese gunboat destroyer, the Akazuki. Her guns fire quite quickly, and if, let's say, you have the tier 10, the Hirugumo, where you can get 800 main battery hits quite quickly. Maybe I'm thinking about a cruiser. What's a cruiser that has a good reload time? I might think of the tier 8 Cleveland, has a decent reload time on her 12 main battery guns. Maybe I'm thinking about Des Moines. I'm thinking about Salem. They have decent reload times. Usually your light cruisers have a better reload time than the heavy cruisers. Okay, 1500 ribbons, that's just, you know, it can be floods, captures, main battery hits, secondary battery hits, planes shot down, right? And again, I'm paying attention to completion criteria, and I say, okay, I just need ribbons. And those happen quite quickly, you know, and that's all the things you get up at the top of your screen during a battle. Get 20 destroyed ribbons. Then I might think of, you know, again, ops is going to be halved in whatever I do there. It's probably quite easy that you can do this in co-op, right? So this is a ship that people hate. Well, not hate. Well, some people actually do hate this ship, but I get grief sometimes when I take this into co-op. This is a coal ship. It's the tier 10 Marcel, or Kleber, the tier 10 French destroyer Tech Tree gunboat, right? And the reason I like taking this ship, if I go into co-op, is because her guns reload really fast. Here's 827mm guns that reload 3.1 seconds, and I can get that even faster with some of the specs I have on the commander. But she also has 12 torpedoes in total. These 12 torpedoes hitting for 14,833 that's 14,833 damage, excuse me. And yes, they're 9 km, not really per se long range, but you get 12 of them. So you YOLO in, and what I do with my Marceau when I'm playing her in co-op is I'll charge in and I'll wipe out the entire bot flank. I'll get 3 or 4 kills, and then of course the people that are behind me, let's say the cruiser and battleship, sometimes they can be salty with me, but I'm able to grind this out quite quickly in co-op. Otherwise, maybe you play a ship that you get a lot of kills with at well, actually, I can't say that. I was just thinking tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 random battles, but again, it has to be tier 5 or higher. So something that maybe you can get a lot of kills with quickly, or it's a really strong ship in random battle, right? So let's think about maybe some of the strong ships that I like playing. Some of them are premium, right? So Kidd, I can tend to get several kills in Kidd. Massachusetts, Salem is a really strong ship. Not a premium ship. Well, I do quite good in terms of my damage ratio and kills with HMS Minotaur, the tier 10 light cruiser. So when I'm thinking about ships, I get kills with quite quickly there. Other things, 75,000 XP. So we had 35,000 XP here, but this is 65,000 XP for a aircraft carrier, right? So then again, this isn't base XP. Pay attention to when you see that. So then I'm going to get more XP by playing higher tier. So maybe I'm thinking a tier 10 carrier. If you are a carrier player or a super carrier, and you take those blue rare or red unique ship XP expendable bonuses. Again, pay attention to completion criteria. You can see it's not halved for ops. 55,000 XP for battleships, 47,000 for cruisers, 50,000 for destroyers, 40,000 for submarines, right? Then, okay, then maybe there's a ship you're grinding and you can take those, even just a standard, the green ship expendable bonuses, and it won't take you too long to get there. Like, I'm grinding the tier 7 French destroyer, the Vauquelin, don't know how to pronounce that ship correctly, and randoms, and I've been getting between 5 to 10,000 XP per battle with just the green special expendable bonuses, right? 200%. So I'd be paying attention to that. Then we're about to just look at 7 real quick. I'll be shorter on that, promise. In one battle, get 14 set on fires or cause flooding ribbons. This, again, only being in randoms or ranked battles. So now I got to think about, hey, I got to do this in one battle. Maybe I can do this much more quickly than taking a cruiser or a battleship into randoms and getting that 47,000 XP. So then I start to think, okay, what are my ships that I set on fire? And maybe this also has the potential to set floods. Now, again, note that there's no ship class criteria, but then maybe I'm wanting to blend it with a battleship or cruiser. So if I were to tell you ships in the game that are good at setting fires, well, I'm probably going to be thinking of these guys here. I can even include the tier 9 as well. So Conqueror, she has an insane fire chance on her main battery. Let's pull up artillery. So here I can see 50% chance starting fire on the target. I think St. Vincent is even higher. Yeah, 64%, right? She has 9 guns, where, as an example, Conqueror has 12 guns. So that's just something you have to keep in mind there. I might think of the newer Commonwealth cruiser line. Maybe I'm talking about the Encounter. She's got a 20% chance, and that's before I even throw on any combat signals that increase my fire chance. Here, 20%, right? So 9.2 second reload time. and then I go in, yeah, okay, and that's with both of these combat signals on. Otherwise, if I take those off, then you're going to see it drop down to 18%, but with 20%. And I just need to focus on setting fires in the game, right? So these were some of the ships that I'll immediately think about and jump to say, hey, is it possible for me to get 14 fires really quickly in a randoms battle? I'd say probably a better chance than ranked, because randoms you have more ships to shoot at. Ranked, you don't have as many. Now, just to quickly hit on the 7th section phase, I'll try not to be as long here. K-85 aircraft shot down or shot down by fighter ribbons. So then maybe I'm thinking about my ships that are really strong AA at tier 8, tier 9, tier 10. Now, there's some operations that have a lot of planes. I think Hermes, Cherry Blossom, those have whole waves of airplanes to come in. So if I'm an ops guy and I more PvE, I might think of that. Otherwise, if I'm thinking about ships in the game, I'll try to include tier 8 now that are really good at AA strength. Excuse me, it took me a moment. I'm thinking a Kid. Kid has really strong AA strength because she also gets a defensive AA fire. She'll do really good. Baltimore, Cleveland are pretty decent. Rochester, really good. If I'm thinking battleships as well, Illinois, I've been speccing as an AA as well, so I have 96 AA rating on that. So she's really good for that. Salem and Worcester, as an example, also really good. I think Louisiana is actually quite decent there as well. Wisconsin, I think, is all right. Yeah, 89. I might also think of not necessarily much the Russian cruisers. I think it's 83. That's not terrible. I'll be thinking of the British light cruisers, Neptune, Minotaur, really strong AA defenses there as well. And I think we've also taken the pay attention to your commander builds as well. The other ships that are really good with AA, I'm just trying to get to them really quickly. Tier 8, D7 Provincian. This was you can see AA defense 99. This was a previous Dockyard ship. Brisbane, also really strong. And then the Golden Lion, also really strong AA defense, because I've been building into that on the ship commander as well. Probably just bumped it up. Yeah, 97. So think about ships that are strong with AA, and you can just kind of check the AA rating when you hover your mouse over if you're newer to the game and you're trying to figure that one out. Credits, take premium ships. Tier 9s are the best credit earners in the game. So tier 9 premium with the credit boosters. All right, so if I'm taking a tier 9 premium ship, I want to take Illinois out, or I take Friesland out. I typically play these two ships the most, because it also you have to do decent in the battle to earn more credits, right? And then hey, let me throw on a unique or rare expendable credit bonus if you have it. Otherwise, you can see I'm pretty low on them right now because I've been grinding through a lot of ship lines greatly lately. Come back into this, 30,500 secondary battery hits, main battery hits. I talked about that earlier in the 3rd phase, although it was only 800 then. And then here you see base XP. Earn 60,000 base XP. So this will take you a lot longer to earn, because this isn't just XP, it's base XP. So that's how much you get in a battle result. If you're maybe average, you might get, if you're playing higher tier, maybe you get 50, around 1,000 to 1,250, maybe you get 1,500. If you take your really strong ships that you play and perform really well in and get a lot of base XP out of, then play those. Like for me, those would be Salem, that would be Ohio, Wisconsin, Conqueror, Minotaur, Friesland, anything that's going to help you get more base XP. And the dumb thing is, submarines, if you're a good submarine player, they have a built-in base XP modifier. So a submarine can do as a player, you can do average and meh. And then you actually, because of that baked-in multiplier, base XP multiplier, you'll get more base XP than someone who actually did a little better than you in the game. It's World of Warships' way of making submarines work. Get ribbon hits. So again, think of ships that maybe you can, this doesn't say any type of ribbons when you're in that class of ship. So again, you're probably thinking of reload time being shorter, more quickly. Another one would be like in one battle earn 2,700 base XP. Again, I'm thinking of my strong carry ships that I'm pretty confident I can get high XP in. So like Massachusetts, Minotaur, Salem, Conqueror, Wisconsin, any ship that I perform really well in the game, I'll consider taking that. Now, there's one more thing I want to point out, and we're about to we'll move into closing comments. In one battle, caused 230,000 HP of damage to ships, and this is randoms and ranks. So then I think about ships I can be pretty consistently do a lot of damage in. So actually, my go-to ship for this specific one is actually Conqueror, because I'm getting a lot of fire damage from Conqueror, and I can switch to her very effective armor piercing, these 4 19mm guns, and I can wreck broadside battleships and cruisers, right? And then you smash destroyers and submarines with a high explosive in addition to aircraft, in addition to cruisers and battleships. So think of your go-to damage farmer ship. Usually they're ones that have decent fire chance because you're farming fires, you're exhausting damage control parties on enemy ships, just as an example. Oops, not that one. But that's going to bring this video to a close, so I probably have already made this video longer than anticipated, but I hope at least, I like to try to be thorough on the tips, advice, and tricks for the Dockyard combat missions, because that's the big thing, right, when you're working on these Dockyard ships. Unless, of course, you just throw money at the game and picking up the shipbuilding phases bundles, and then you just even throw. Like, there'll be people you're going to see this weekend who already have this ship. And the only reason they have this ship is because they threw a lot of money at the game here. So, but with that being said, I hope you liked this video. I hope it helps you kind of get your idea around this new Dockyard we have here in the game. So that being said, if you liked today's comment, give it video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. If you are subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. And until next time, take care.